There's an article that you can't access now because the guy's website got taken over by one of those porn bot things that's phishing for your emails. But it may be out there, called What Do You Want to Want by Kyle Eschenroder. There's a version on the Art of Manliness website still. This thing really, really profoundly impacted me. So what you're talking about isn't necessarily about what you desire. It's about what you want to desire, right? Mm-hmm. The difference between what you want and what you want to want is everything. What you want is informed by the way that you've dealt with past trauma, societal programming, your habits, passive least resistance, everything, right? What you want to want is you being intentional. It's your highest self going forward and saying, this is what I decide that my desires should be. Do you understand the difference between those two things, right? So you're saying, I could want to eat the cookie right now. What I want is to have some water and go to bed, right? Now, it's going to be difficult because your wants aren't just made from first principles. They're not just a rational thing. You have innate biological, it's rooted in biology, right? So the reason that you want to go and sleep with that hot girl over there is you're biologically programmed to do that. But you can step in, right, and choose your desires. You can interject yourself into your programming and start to separate that out. So one of the first things that I did after reading that particular article was I looked at the things that I wanted in life and asked, do I actually want to want this? Do I want to want the things that I want at the moment? And there was a ton of them, as you've analyzed, that I didn't. Mm-hmm. Everyone who's in their 20s, especially from the UK, will be familiar with the Friday afternoon itch, where, you know, you've got toward the end of the week and you think, I could really do with a beer. I could really do with a beer right now. And it's, you know, it's the middle of June and it's the sun's starting to come out and it's later evenings and the clocks have changed. And you think, oh yeah, beer garden and a Bulmers, that'd be nice. But I realized that I didn't want to want that. I didn't want to want that. So I went sober for forever, right? On and off for 6 months, then did 1,000 days of sobriety, despite not having a problem with drinking the same way that you didn't. And that changed my desires. I didn't want to want partying. I wanted to be able to enjoy different sorts of events. And I was able to step in and change my desires. So if you don't assess what you want to want in life, you are a slave to your biological impulses and the desires that you've absorbed from people around you.
Yeah.
You are, at best, the cleverest rat in the room, right? If you succeed at what other people and society and your passive least resistance have told you that you want to want, at best, you can become a rich or famous slave, right? But it's not you. It's not you that chose that. This isn't your life that you're going through. This is the shadow on the wall of everybody else's choice that you're then trying to replicate yourself. So the main thing that you have to do is step back and look at all of the desires that you've got in life, all of the actions that you go through, all of the things. And there's not that many. If you actually look at them, they fall into buckets. You know, they'll fall into the bucket of adventure, of materialism, of like free and easy sex, of reputation, of validation, of love, affection, all these things. And you go, okay, like what of these do I actually want to want? And this isn't me saying that I've managed to cast off like all of my biology and stuff. Like it's a battle that I face every single day.
What do you find that the desire that you find is creeping up with you that you would rather just not be there at this point in time?
Very good question.
Because I feel like you have a lot of it nailed, especially with all the people who you've spoken to. From the outside, observing you, it looks like you really have your shit together.
It's not bad. It's definitely the best it's ever been. But it's the same as anything, you know, as you get better, you then start to zoom in and focus on smaller problems with an increasing lens. So there's always something to be working on. Certainly for me, I have it, and we spoke about this yesterday, the tension between the desire for variety and adventure in life and routine in order to be able to achieve a lot. That I want to want both of those things, and I can't work out which one. The last week I've been to Vegas, LA, Qatar, Dubai, and I'll be back to Texas in the space of 9 days. I always wanted to travel and have adventure, but I'm also writing a book and trying to build a podcast and trying to still show up like an athlete for my chosen pursuit. And that's attention. And I can't work out which of those. And maybe it's a case of just periodizing each of them, right? Okay, I'll do this thing for a while. I'll do a bit of adventure and then I'll come back. I think that this is your approach to stuff too. There is still a lot of, not a lot actually, but there is a desire for validation, for acceptance, for status and renown. But that's actually fallen away an awful lot as I feel more fulfilled by the work that I do. And this is the beautiful intersection of when you do something which you're genuinely proud of doing and that you enjoy yourself. If you do that, the desire for external validation, you don't even need to deprogram it that much. It just falls away. Like there is nothing else that I would rather do at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning in Dubai than sit down and have a cool chat with you on your new show. Like there is nothing else that I'd rather do. I'm perfectly caffeinated. I've had the right amount of nootropics before I came in. I feel fucking great. I feel fantastic. And the beautiful view, great conversation. This is exactly what I want to be doing. So I don't care about how it comes across. And also because you've put so many reps in, you know, it's probably going to hopefully be good. And maybe it'll add value to people. And it's so great, man. Like I'm so thankful for the intersection of experience, skills, and desires that have meant that I can do this. And this is what I want for everybody else. Like I really want every person that's listening to this to be able to find that intersection of what is right for them, because it's so fulfilling. And I always thought throughout my 20s that I had depression. And I realized that probably contributed quite heavily to the fact that I didn't have a stable sleep and wake pattern at all, which just wrecks your mood, absolutely destroys your mood. You know, I was going to bed 3 or 4 a.m. 2 or 3 nights a week for a decade, right? Because I was at work. I had to cash the till, I had to finish everything up. And then every few months I'd spend a few days in bed. I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. And I'd feel so ashamed of myself for what you're supposed to be, the owner of this company, this nightlife thing, and you're the guy on the front door and everybody knows you and you got the big hair and the blue tick on Twitter and you've been on Love Island and blah, blah, blah. Like what a piece of shit you are that you can't get out of bed. Why? What's wrong with life? Oh, nothing is wrong. You're not bankrupt. No one in your life's died. You're not grieving. Everything's ostensibly great. And you're whining about the sheer weight of human existence. And it used to make me feel really ashamed of myself, but I realized that I wasn't creating a foundation, which was mostly, to be honest, wasn't to do with any of the like existential philosophical insights. It was just biological. It's like, okay, stable sleep and wake pattern, get enough sunlight in your eyes, have a group of people around you that support what you're doing, have a pursuit that you care about, like basic shit. Like none of this required an in-depth reframing of what you want to want. It was like, just sort your life out, right? Like literally sort your life out. But then as things have progressed, like the texture of my own mind, concept called the region beta paradox, I spoke about it on Rogan. So if you imagine that if you were to travel less than a mile, you would walk it. And if you were to travel a mile or more, you would drive it. Surprisingly, you would travel 2 miles quicker than you would go 1 mile, right? So the point there is that sometimes worse situations can be better than better situations, because it galvanizes you into some sort of action. And you could imagine you're in a relationship and the relationship is not great, but it's not terrible. They're not abusive. They're fine. They support you and stuff, but it really doesn't fire you up and you're not that in love with them. Or you live in an apartment and it's a bit expensive and it's in a dodgy area of town and there's a bit of mold on the ceiling, but the landlord's quite nice and, you know, it's convenient. It's not far from your work and whatever. All of these situations for these people would actually be better off if they were worse, because if the apartment was unlivable, it would force them to go into a look for someone new. If the relationship was abusive or evidently toxic or whatever, it would cause these people to reject the relationship outright and then go and find something that'll fire them up. And this is how people get stuck in region beta, which is this chasm of comfortable complacency in the middle, right? It's not bad. It's not sufficiently bad to make you change it, but it's not good enough for you to say, oh, this is good. This is actually great. It's just acceptable. And that's how people get comfortably numb and they just float through life. And the problem is that the world at the moment is so convenient. There's so much convenience. You can, you know, Uber Eats a Michelin star meal to the apartment that you Amazon Primed a brand new couch to while you Netflix a award-winning series on your TV. And that means that you can sedate yourself out of a lot of the big problems that you're facing in life. You can just anesthetize any of the concerns that you've got because there's so much easy enjoyment and pleasure available to you. And region beta means getting out of that sometimes means assessing a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah, I think I've definitely noticed that living in Dubai. You can have a very comfortable, easy life. And I've needed to force myself to do new things to feel some kind of like this, for example. Because before this, I was just like, I would just vlog and just get the camera to just follow me around. And I felt like I wasn't doing anything that was challenging me. I was just cruising. The most challenging thing that I probably did was just go and train legs, and that was it. Everything else was just too easy. So this has been a good challenge for me. And I think there's certainly, looking forward, there's more things which I would like to challenge myself with.
What are you thinking?
Maybe the speaking in front of large audiences. That is something which still, the thought of it makes me think, oh my God. Make
your bumhole do this.
Exactly. But I know if I do it, I mean, it's like the same thing I have when I train, when I'm about to do a horrible leg session. I have to psych myself up beforehand because I know it's going to be pretty damn unpleasant, and I'm going to have to force myself to become very uncomfortable. But I always envision how I'm going to feel after I've completed it. So if I've had an amazing leg session and I push myself 100%, couldn't have done more, I get a tremendous amount of satisfaction knowing that I have not bitched out. I've given it everything that I could possibly give. And just having that period of being uncomfortable gives you a buzz for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that I know, absolutely everybody that is successful in a well-balanced way does hard things. They elect to do hard things on a regular basis. You know, you look at Rogan, someone who basically could just coast through life with all of the money and status that he needs. And he does these fucking insane kettlebell workouts, and every single morning gets into his ice bath, which he's managed to get below freezing by adding salt to it. Like if you throw a ton of salt in, the ice won't freeze. So you can get to like a 31 Fahrenheit, 30 Fahrenheit ice bath. And why are they doing this? Well, they're doing it because they need, even the people that are at the peak of success and notoriety and whatever in their life, have to find some way to feel like they're progressing. And, you know, from the outside, you with the nice car, living in Dubai, in the nice apartment, with all of the followers and the money and the business and the clothes and the app, you still need to find something that challenges you. You have to. Or else, even you with all of the, you know, ease and success and accolades and stuff is going to feel unfulfilled. And this is one of the problems of certain types of fame. Dan Bilzerian's not an ideal example of this, but he's the closest enough one that I can find. Dan doesn't open up enough about his grind. I'm sure that he works very hard on a lot of things. I know that he worked incredibly hard on his book, no ghostwriter, and he very much dedicated himself to that process. But from the outside, his lifestyle just looks like hedonism and no challenge, despite the fact he's in really great condition. I saw him at the UFC Power Slap thing. The guy he's bigger than I've ever seen him before. He's absolutely massive, like really, really big boy. Good condition, very good condition. But he doesn't open enough about that, which I don't think forms a particularly good role model for people that look at success, because they see success as easy.
Yeah.
You go, look, the kind of success that everybody that's listening to this podcast wants to have is success that allows them to find increasingly more difficult challenges to face. That's success.